we're trying to be real about it, right? We're trying to actually suss what happened back then, and you know, being pretentious isn't going to be, you know, there doesn't matter how fancy your tie is or how well or lack thereof your suit fits. It's still your you know, that has nothing to do with how accurate your information is. The best way of describing it, meeting him in a nutshell, is the way that he hugs you. Is like, it's like a mom sending her kid off to Vietnam or something. He just like grabs and holds you so tight. It's just like, he's just a good person, right? He's just a good soul. And the bathroom was full, and everybody in the bathroom started laughing like I was a comedian working the room, and like my brain immediately goes to those memes, and then everybody clapped, and I'm like, ah, fuck, I need to go outside, man. This is just, it was just surreal. It was just not, just it felt like I was in a simulation for a minute there. If you think of all the different names of all the different people from back in those days, what they're attached to all of the spiritualism and all that kind of stuff, you know, the guy that comes to the top of the pile is Houdini, you know, and he was the debunker. There was a time when the internet was going to make us all smart and help us, you know, sense bullshit and know up from down, and instead it's just let every swinging dick have a voice, even me.
Welcome to the Multiverse, Dan Richards. It's been a pleasure. We got to meet you in person at Cosmic Summit. We've been watching you, of course, on YouTube, really since the last Cosmic Summit over a year ago. Cosmic Summit's how we started this show, and we're proud to have you here on the show tonight. Welcome to the show.
Oh, well, thanks a lot, Mike. I appreciate that. And yeah, it was good to meet both you and Dave there at the Cosmic Summit. That was pretty awesome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. One of the things I wanted to talk about was Cosmic Summit, to break the ice a little bit. But before I do, the pressing question that I think everyone has or wants to know is, how do you choose your background? Like, you had some NES games up there for a while, and then you got, you know, how you're switching it up.
Oh, I just grabbed stuff off of. I've got a bunch of stuff. I did eBay of buying and selling stuff on eBay for a long time, and focused on video games and VHS and Betamax and Laserdisc and stuff. And so I just go grab something and put it on the shelf and try to keep it moving around some, the big stuff anyway.
It adds something to look for in new videos, kind of like on the Y-Files too. When AJ swaps out one of the books that's underneath the Hecklefish bowl, you look at that title, you say, have I read this book before? I remember in your early days, you always had that original PlayStation 2 poster on the wall, which I loved because that was sort of my era. I remember when that was the brand new thing. It was cool.
Yeah, I still got a handful of I've got a Wild Arms, the Wild Arms 2 poster. It's kind of beat up, but yeah, I've got a few of those things. There was a guy I used to buy a lot of crap from that had all kinds of stuff that was cool like that.
Yeah, it also gives a little bit about like whatever your personality in the background there, that kind of thing. It's lets your audience know, you know, a little bit more about you. It made me think, like, if I were to set an over under on whether or not Dan Richards had a Commodore 64, it would be at 90%. Or I'd set the over under at 90%.
I could go grab one. It's taken apart right now because when I got it, it had this. You remember back in those days, everybody cowboyed that shit up. It's got switches coming off of it, so I've taken it apart to remove the switches, and it was too much unsoldering, so it's sitting there. But yeah, I've got one.
I've got the mini, and then I bought the hobby booklet because I was going to start like putting stuff on there. There's some decent games on there, but I did have the pleasure of, because Mike is about 10 years younger than me, I did have the pleasure of introducing Mike to Bard's Tale, like
nice.
on Xbox though, for the first time. Mike does love to get into the like old grindy RPGs like that. So I don't know if you're into those, but
oh yeah, oh yeah, I got lots of time spent on those. Even on the NES with like Dragon Warrior 1, which you want to talk about
for
grinding.
sure.
It's like, good God, you spend like 3 days just beating your head against those little slimes before you can do anything.
Oh, that was the best though. I've got all 4 of them. I think they might be up right behind me.
nice.
We're over there.
Yeah.
I've been trying to I've been trying to switch them out. It's my opinion that 3 is the best one. But I never went past Warrior. Like it's Warrior for me, not Quest. People call it Quest apparently, but I didn't get that far.
I just played the ones on the NES. It's a lot of that gaming stuff. A lot of it I just kind of, it's like movies. A lot of it I just kind of hit a cutoff point where it's like I'll watch the occasional thing that's come out since then. But like even with the Terminator films, everybody's like, did you see the Terminator movie where Arnold did this and it was so terrible? And it's like, no, I didn't bother watching it. I knew it was gonna suck, so I watched 2 again. I'm sorry.
2 holds up.
Oh, 2's amazing. The first 2 are very, very good.
Yeah. 2 holds up. I'm only 43, but it brings me back to literally being like 11 years old and going like, whoa, how the fuck did they do that? Like, and you could still kind of do that with that movie today. So, yeah, it's a good one. Terminator or Alien? Which one are you?
Oh, I prefer. So if I'm going to watch one, I prefer Terminator. But like if you're going to talk about which one's a more badass critter, I think the aliens are more scary. I mean, Terminators,
sure.
It's a robot, so you could at least maybe trick it. Especially people that grew up in the '80s, right? It's
probably just going to shoot you too. It's not going to rip your face off and
turn you into a breeding pod. You wake up one day with all the shit crawling around the side. I'm good.
Yeah. So I remember Cosmic Summit was a crazy Fast and Furious weekend, and the only time I really remember meeting you, Dan, was at I saw you everywhere, but on Friday night, like you were like kind of coming in, and we were going out, and Brittany got a picture of us in the front there, and then after that, it was like off to the races. Was that your first time at one of those events?
It was my first time at Cosmic Summit. I was at the Fight for the Past thing in Sedona with Graham Hancock. I forget what the date was on that exactly, but that was about a month and a half before the Cosmic Summit. So I'd done that before. So I had a little taste of that. But it was only a few days as opposed to the Cosmic Summit was a whole week pretty much. But yeah, it's a lot different than being in my hometown where if somebody recognizes me here, it's like, hey, you're that Joe Rogan guy, right? And Cosmic Summit or the stuff in Sedona and stuff, people definitely, they knew who I was. It wasn't just that guy. It was, hey, you, come here. So that was kind of cool.
It's very nice to be appreciated for the work you're doing, not just for some random appearance that people are recognizing that they don't actually know about. So.
Yeah, exactly. It's it's definitely, it's humbling. It's really what it is. Like I never thought I'd end up in this spot in a million years, right? So.
Yeah, I made a note to mention that to your retractors. They'd never agree with me because they don't listen to you. But you are a very humble guy. And so like it was interesting. Like I wanted to sort of get your take on what it was like to like be at like Cosmic Summit. It was much bigger than the event in Sedona, I believe. So people were like, it's debunking Dan. Like, was that draining? Was it enjoying? What was that like?
Sometimes it was just weird and surreal. Like there was one time, it was actually in Sedona, but it was the same thing. It was probably the most surreal of all the times that it happened. I was in the bathroom and washing my hands, and somebody goes, "Well, I'm washing my hands next to Dan Richards," and I was like, "Yeah, I piss on my hands sometimes too." And the whole the bathroom was full, and everybody in the bathroom started laughing like I was a comedian working the room, and like my brain immediately goes to those memes, and then everybody clapped, and I'm like, fuck, I need to go outside, man. This is just it was just surreal. It was just not. It felt like I was in a simulation for a minute there.
You would have done good in the Army.
Oh well, yeah, I was in the Army Reserve.
You were? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, combat medic. Cool.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I was. You were probably a 91 Bravo or something like that.
Back in those days, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was. I got in like right when they changed it to 68 whiskey. And
Okay.
that's what it was now, and I got out in 2012. So.
Oh, right on. Yeah, I got out right before, not long before anyway, I should say, 9/11. So
that's weird.
I got lucky that way, but I was in the reserves, and the unit that I was with was they're gone now, but it was what do you call it, a mobile hospital unit.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was back in those days. I don't know how it is now, but back in those days, you had to have combat medic certification to be anything else, and I was a orthopedic tech, and that was. Fuck, this has been a long time. I want to say 91 Hotel. It's when you're only doing it one day, one weekend a month. It's pretty hard to remember after 25 years. It's just
right.
You think you'd never forget in a million years. And now I'm like, fucking, what was that again?
Yeah, I was in the National Guard. Got out 20 years ago. Go ahead, Mike.
Sorry.
I was just going to ask, during that time, were you ever employed as an EMT or a paramedic?
No, I mean, a lot of people did that, but I kind of felt like the only thing that we learned was like how to stop a sucking chest wound. That was about the extent of. So I just felt like I would be, I would be kind of like lying on my specs for this. And it's one thing to go say I'm a carpenter when I'm not, but when you're an EMT, it's like fuck, people die. I just didn't feel like I was cut out for much more than combat stuff. So
when I went to Fort Sam Houston, is that where you went to? Okay.
Yeah.
When I went there, they made us get a civilian certification as an EMT basic. Did they do that to you?
They didn't make us get that, but it was highly encouraged.
Okay.
Yeah, it was highly encouraged. But yeah, it was. Yeah, I still have a little bit of. Not quite PTSD, but I still definitely get some flashbacks when I go to get my veins rolls, and when you have some other dumbass sitting there on the other side of you, they're jabbing at you, learning for their first time. I'm just like, God damn it, man, come on! Your whole arms are black and blue when you leave.
Every whiskey or Bravo or whatever generation you're from has that same story of like that 2 weeks or whatever it is you spend just stabbing each other with needles, and some people are terrible at it and never get the hang of it, and you have to let them keep trying, and it's a whole thing. I did want to comment. It's interesting to me that a lot of people veterans get into like Lost Ancient Civ. Jimmy, Michael, I didn't realize you were a veteran.
I technically am, but again, I mean, I was just in the reserves, and we did nothing.
It counts a little bit. It counts.
I know,
it
but
counts. Yeah. I don't discount it.
Yeah, fair.
Just for the time you got in, that's like comparing generations in the NBA or something. It's like comparing LeBron's generation to Jordan's because I had a war and you didn't,
Well, yeah, except I guess if LeBron's generation played and Jordan's generation didn't, I mean,
yes,
it's like
right.
I know a lot of guys that played ball, and I just was like sitting there, yeah, okay. I'm on the team, guys. I'm done now. I'm gonna go home and play Nintendo.
Yeah. Can I ask about the dedunking and the intro and all that? Like, are you an NBA fan? Oh, Mike, sorry, go ahead, Mike.
That was my exact next question, because you mentioned NBA. I was thinking, how did you settle on the reverse clip, the iconic reverse clip?
Oh, well, I'm not a huge NBA fan, but I did watch the when the Bulls were all the rage, right? When it was like their dream team, basically, when it was Jordan and Rodman and Pippen. Oh, I watched that quite a bit. Well, not quite a bit, but for a guy who didn't watch a lot, I watched that. But the reason I ended up using the debunking thing was the reason I started making the videos was I watched Ancient Apocalypse. I watched YouTube to look for the debunkers, and I saw what Stefan Milo had said and Milo Rossi. And then Milo Rossi had this short video where he's like, bragging about how his episode 1 on that, his response to Ancient Apocalypse, how was doing so well, and he's like, get dunked on Graham Hancock, and so that was we'll undunk that. So then I figured I'll just be a smart ass, and I knew that Anya's music was that she would let you sneak through the cracks. I already knew that from making memes on Facebook and shit. And it's a beautifully, I like that kind of music, but it's also that song is like so good for memes. I've been using it for almost a decade now, fucking around.
It's still a good song too.
It is a good song, and it's so it can be so tongue in cheek, man. Like I've used it. I'm one of the moderators on the Band of Brothers Curry posting on Facebook, and I've used that one and would put that song over a combat scene, and it's absolutely hilarious, right? It's beautiful.
Or the Muppets.
Oh God, yeah. Yes, man. Shit.
Jim Henson, greatest puppeteer.
Oh man, growing up with him was pretty awesome. Growing up watching that stuff, it's sad. It's like you see these kinds of art forms disappear. Like I was at that film festival last week in Chehalis, Washington. I was at this UFO film festival, and one of the films was a stop motion, like it was little penguin toys, and they did a stop motion running around, and it was pretty cool because you like never see that kind of stuff done well anymore.
That in like claymation, when it was actually moving clay in between the frames as opposed to computer generated clay objects.
Yeah. Clay.
I was showing my wife Transformers, the movie, the animated movie from 1986 last night, and she was like blown away. Like, and it had so much like more. Maybe it's just my nostalgia, but it had so much more heart and soul than the stuff now that's just like CGI doesn't do it for me.
No, I yeah. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Mike.
One thing we had pointed out, I forget who we were talking with, to give some credit back to the original CGI folks in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. That was before AI was running it on the computer for them. There was still a lot of intensive hours on the computer-generated effects in the early days. So those people deserve credit as well. Now it's a lot more AI-driven, I imagine.
Yeah, in the early days, I mean, there would a lot of cut and pasting still they would get away with, but they would still they'd have to do it manually and resize. If they're putting a bunch of characters in an audience, for example, they could resize them and deform them a little bit, but they had to, like you say, do each one by hand. Now there's tools for all that shit. It's kind of sad when you think about it, like how fast that kind of stuff moves. Like if you imagine being the guy who was into horses and buggies back in the day, and then the automobiles come around, and it's like today that shit happens so fast. The smartphone, we all think about about AI supplanting artists and video editors and whatnot, but like we're doing eBay stuff, the smartphone and the Google Lens and stuff. That just you could spend 50 years of your life mastering I've learned every single marble that there is known to man, and I've got them all cataloged in my brain, and Google's like, yeah, fucking hold my beer. You missed 3.
Good point.
Yeah. It's a weird world to live in, going from, like, I'm 43. I would guess you were born in the 70s, but I really don't know. And so you are, and Mike is at the back end of my generation that like remember being a young adult or older child with no internet, no nothing, like get on your bike and go for a drive, landmines, drink from the water hose. You take that kind of attitude towards ancient history, and I like that.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I mean, it's we're trying to be real about it, right? We're trying to actually suss what happened back then, and being pretentious isn't going to be, doesn't matter how fancy your tie is or how well or lack thereof your suit fits. It's still that has nothing to do with how accurate your information is, and that's a lot of that. A lot of, I think, in archaeology and in history and stuff, the less truly scientific this quote unquote scientific discipline is, the more that they LARP and the harder that they LARP. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When did you when did you first get into Hancock and all these ideas? Like, what was your first introduction, and when to the idea of a lost ancient civilization and that our history was possibly full of shit?
Well, I watched I want to say the name of the movie is Atlantis, but it was one of those Orson Welles type of movies from the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember watching that when I was younger. But Hancock's work specifically, it was The Sign and the Seal. I don't know if you guys are aware of that one.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
That one was the one. I grew up in a really, really religious household, very speaking in tongues Christian kind of house. And I was pulling myself out of religion as a young adult. I was like, kind of recovering Christian kind of thing. And when I read A Sign and a Seal and started looking at some of the evidence, it was amazing to me just how different it was from this. The Bible is this perfect history book, and so I had fingerprints of the gods pre-ordered from Hastings. If you guys know what Hastings is, yeah, the video store.
Mm-hmm.
And I had fingerprints of the gods pre-ordered when in '95, and I've been reading Graham Hancock. There's a few of his books that I've missed, but I've read most of his books and been reading him pretty much since he got popular.
Like in the 90s, or?
Yeah, 95 was when Fingerprints of the Gods came out, and I have my copy of it's right over here. It's signed and beat the hell up. I got that signed, and I got Heaven's Mirror signed when I met Graham and Santa for the first time.
So, did you meet them in Bath when you did that interview for your channel? Like, were you because there's an interview of you with him, and both of those books are on the coffee table.
Yeah,
and you're talking to Graham Hancock. And I mentioned humbleness earlier, and I wanted to mention that, like, you looked like I probably would have looked like at Graham Hancock's house or wherever you were, talking to Graham Hancock. You looked like to be very like, at first, like, how the hell did this happen?
Oh, man. It was very much how the hell this happened. Like I honestly, if you take me back 5 years and say, what celebrities would you want to meet? It would be like Graham Hancock and David Gilmour are the two people that are on my list. That was like, and so there I was, like, in a room with him, and it's just, it was amazing. It was like, watching him and his wife and his daughter-in-law and granddaughter. He was interacting with his family. It was just funny as hell. Like seeing they always say, like, don't meet your heroes or whatever. And, like, I wouldn't say he's my hero. There's always been things that I've just said, I think you're taking it too far. I don't agree with your attitude about this, but meeting him was the opposite of, like, don't meet your heroes. He was so, like, the first thing, the best way of describing it, meeting him in a nutshell, is the way that he hugs you. Is like, it's like a mom sending her kid off to Vietnam or something. He just, like, grabs and holds you so tight. It's just like, he's just a good person, man. He's just a good soul.
He definitely gives that vibe off.
He is. He's a pretty nice guy. And that was definitely, yes. So, yes, circle back to a God. Yeah, that was definitely, I couldn't believe I was sitting in that chair for over and over again. I was pinching myself.
That's the word I had in my head when I was watching it. He has a pinch me look on his face.
Yeah. It was, I was shocked, right? I mean, I did not in 100 years did I ever think I was going to end up sitting across the room from him, talking about ancient history and all that stuff. But
so, speaking of, like, unlikelihoods, I want to get to the Joe Rogan call. Like, how does that happen? But first, we really do want to hear your story. So if you could just tell us, like, whatever you feel like is relevant from the top, where you're from, like, where you, like, like, career background, all that stuff.
Yeah, I worked as an electrician for a long time. I'm a single dad now. I'm full custody of my son for about 10 years. He's almost grown. I got into Egypt, like, back in 4th grade. But Graham Hancock really, like, his work really steered me off into a different direction, as far as like just questioning different things and looking at connections, and just being willing to entertain possibilities that instead of just listening to the experts, which that dovetailed nicely with my like walking away from Christianity, because the Christianity I was raised with, I know a lot of people are Christian that are watching, but the Christianity I was raised with was very overbearing and very much like about, you will think this way, and that's, as far as I'm concerned, that's not healthy, no matter what you're forcing down somebody's throat. But at any rate, I got that attitude of question everything, don't just take authority on its head. And then fast forward till now, when I've got custody of my son. He's an older teenager, and he's like, Dad, get out of my shit. I don't need you to hang out and play Fortnite with me no more. So I started messing around on YouTube, and I quickly noticed that I'm pretty skeptical and pretty scientifically minded, but I don't throw out the baby with the bathwater, and I'm really shocked that attitude isn't more prevalent. I'm like blown away by that, honestly. And so I started, like I said earlier, made a video picking up Milo, and when I was making videos, I made a video at one point addressing Emperor Tiger Star. I don't know if you guys know who he is. He's a historian that is like into maps, and he'd made a video. This is a couple of years ago, and his video was 2 years old at the time. But he made a video debunking fingerprints of the gods, and it was so full of errors that I made a video debunking it, and I only had about 800 subscribers, and Emperor Tiger Star had about 200,000 subscribers at the time. And he privated his video, and it had been sitting there for like 2 years. It had a couple 100,000 views. And I realized at that point that it's like there's nobody's doing this. These guys are just they're free to run amok. And if the audience is like, you either have Graham's fans that don't give a rat fuck what you say bad about him, they expect you to lie, or just be mean to Graham, and so they don't care anyway. Or you have the guys that are hardcore debunkers. They're not going to look under the hood of the arguments against Graham. They're just there to go, ha, 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 look at the stupid pseudoscientist, right? So either way, nobody was checking. And so when I came in and started kicking the tires of arguments, it was funny. It was immediately, a lot of things changed. You look at Ancient Apocalypse Season 2 versus Season 1, and how much less people are targeting Season 2 with debunking videos and stuff. And I can't say for certain that I'm the only factor, but I'm certain I am a factor, because people know now, if you make a video about that stuff, you got to do your legwork. If you just do the precursory, scratch the surface, I'm not just going to pick on you. I'm going, hey, if you're going to debunk somebody, fucking bring your A game, or just stay home.
Well, and hiding behind credentials like that, you're basically calling out the appeal for authority flaw. And the ironic thing is, the way people got their titles of authority is by passing through the peer review system. So you pass through some rigorous peer review to become a scientist or a historian, and then you go on and just flaunt those credentials, and then do a poor job of actually doing the homework when you're trying to debug a TV show or something.
Absolutely. Well, it's an easy way to make money. I mean, that's, the video that Tiger Star had, if I forget exact numbers on it, but, if it had a couple 100,000 views, that's made thousands of dollars for him. Mm-hmm. And the research he did was horrible. It was the one that was funniest to me was, who Hapgood is, Charles Hapgood? And okay. So Einstein wrote the foreword for his book, right? And Tiger Star says that there's no way that Einstein wrote the foreword for the book, because Einstein was dead before the book was released. And it's like, you numb that. All you got to do is Google it. And it's like on pages that archive Einstein's work, it's there. And it was multiple things like that. The Air Force guy, Harold Z. Ohlmeyer, the guy who was in charge of the Piri Reis map when they did the evaluation of those maps. He was like, I can't find anything about this guy except for his obituary. And it's like, well, his obituary lists the bombardier wing that he was with in World War II, and so with that, I was able to find like the like basically where all the people got together after the war and put together a history. They had like a little book that they'd made in the 90s that was like the history of this bombing wing from World War II, and it had this guy's name all over the place, talked about what he'd done and all this shit. So the point was, it wasn't like this was hard to find. It wasn't like I did some like amazing, I was on a deep web fucking
Right.
on tour, and it's just like I got on Google and just kept look at these words, I'll look at that. I mean, now he probably could have done better because you type the thing in and the AI is like, "Hey, idiot, here's some links." You don't have to go to Wikipedia to get idiot links; they're right here.
It's the best and the worst at the same time.
Yep.
They lead you right to the water now and tell you where to drink, but it's really funny because it's so easy to manipulate this shit still. Like you could just like like if you take a quote, for example, if you come up with your own quote and you make sure that it's a little bit unique, so it's not like anything else that's quite out there, and then you go in a few different places and say this means this means this means this, then you can just go out. It could be almost counterintuitive, but the AI will pick up on that. They'll be like, oh, on Reddit and on Twitter and
you
on
can
Instagram.
feed it bullshit. So it's almost like a multi-layered version of fucking around with Wikipedia.
It's exactly. Wikipedia is one of the main places that it cites, and it's not it's not a mistake. It's not some accident or some just happy accident that all these debunker guys happen to. They use Grok all the fucking time because they know this is it is something you can manipulate. And they've been doing that for years. I watched John Hoops do that. You guys know who John Hoops is, the archaeologist debunker guy?
Yeah,
right?
Because of our friend Cody, who we thought might show up at the end of this, by the way, just FYI.
Oh,
Cody did a whole like expose on John Hoops. I don't know if you've seen this from East 10 Outpost.
Oh yeah, yes.
Yeah,
Cody from East 10 Outpost.
Yes,
okay, I didn't know which Cody you were talking about, but yes, that's great.
Yeah.
But when Hoops, I was on X when he did it. He's Forbes magazine posted some younger driest impact hypothesis thing, and they didn't take shots at it. They didn't say that it was, they didn't even give it even keel. They just said that it was pretty positive. Look at this. Some scientists think that there was a comet that hit, bada bing, bada boom. That was it. So John Hoops is all pissy. He's, you gotta, there's scientists that hate this. There's scientists that said all this mean stuff about it. You should check out what Wikipedia has to say. Well, John Hoops has edited the Wikipedia page. His name's all over it. So that's the most underhanded, pathetic. I mean, not just underhanded, it's pathetic. That's just like, hey, check out what the dictionary says. Oh, by the way, I write the dictionary. It's what the fuck is this shit? At least say, by the way, in an article that I wrote, I said this. But no, you don't do that. You make it sound like it's some vague authority. It's deliberately manipulative. It is, and that's where it's really, that's where it's shit in my mind. When you're deliberately manipulating people with the data that's coming out of your field or that's related to your field, you're trying to call yourself a purveyor of truth. I mean, I don't know what kind of world you live on, but that's insanity to me.
It's particularly sad, I think, with regards to Wikipedia, because Wikipedia was awesome for a while there. Like, I learned so much from Wikipedia during my teenage years when all of my high school teachers were saying, well, you can't use Wikipedia for this and that assignment. It's like, whatever. They got if they have sources at the bottom, I'll cite all those. I'm reading Wikipedia all day. And for a little while, I was donating money to Wikipedia because I thought, well, this is the sum of mankind's knowledge. It's available to everyone. This is a good cause. Later on, you come to find out there's information cartels that are censoring things. There's no free speech there. It's like, hey, you got to get out of that entirely. Too bad, so sad.
It's horrible, but that's just kind of the way it always happens with things like that. It becomes things get bloated and people end up exploiting it. It's frustrating, but it is what it is. There was a time when the internet was going to make us all smart and help us, sense bullshit and know up from down. And instead, it's just Just let every swinging dick have a voice, even me.
I've copied many a thing out of a encyclopedia. Like we had like one of those classic like 80s sets of, because in the 80s people would come to your house and they would sell you encyclopedias. Yeah, and we bought some, and I remember I've copied some assignments out of those, but like. Nowadays, like because I'm coaching basketball this year and I'm talking to the kids and they use AI like for everything, and the teachers have no control over it whatsoever.
Oh man, yeah, that's yeah, I can only imagine. You know, I sold about 4 years ago, I sold a bunch of magazines that were not archived in all of these things, and I forget where to look exactly, but I was checking in these different places because I had piles of old magazines and stuff, and a lot of those, you know, if you are trying to write if you're trying to write a paper on the Civil War and the Civil War magazines that are archived in the AI stuff, you can go basically plagiarize the fuck out of it, and unless dude's got it sitting on a shelf, you're good to go.
Right.
Yeah, it went basically upside down. Where everybody, you know, instead of you can't use AI to plagiarize because they'll catch you with it. So the stuff that the AI isn't aware of, that's the stuff that you use to. Which there's a lot of stuff like that, man. I mean, there's all kinds of. The world's still full of goofy shit that the internet hasn't quite archived yet. Not quite.
Yeah. And it's always the one generation old tech that people are going to find the exploits to get around the new tech. That's where you got to stick around and enjoy the old things while you can. That's how I do.
Yeah, we were talking about Commodore 64 earlier. During the Arab Spring, they set up their bulletin board services, which are pre-internet. Basically, you use one computer as a hub, and people talk, so they can only connect to one at a time because, as many phone lines as you got, but it's dial-up service with one computer with the same as everybody else's. It wasn't some big mainframe, but yeah, that was when they shut down the internet. They kept on trucking, going dummy tech. But give us a tin can and string, we'll go with it.
I had this like vague memory. I had this really cool uncle. He's like probably 60 right now, maybe 58. But when I was like 5 years old, he like, I remember taught me how to program like a text-based RPG onto a Commodore 64 and stuff. I remember him showing me how to get on the internet before. A decade before I even really knew what that meant, like on a Commodore 64. So you can get around stuff. Yeah, you can get around stuff, my man. So your newest video you were talking about UFOs, UAPs. Did you kind of get your arm twisted into that subject a little bit? Like people kept asking you about it, or is that a topic you follow? Or
well, I follow the topic to a degree. I'm not. Like I talk about, like I basically implied a little bit in the video. It's frustrating for me because it is, a lot of it's bullshit. It's that a lot. It's like watching late night TV and the salesman on it. It's you just know that a lot of what you're being fed is bullshit. So it makes it really, really difficult for me to like get into it, because anything that gets me excited is the more excited it makes me, the more skeptical I am. So yeah, you are frozen, Mike.
Yeah. Yep.
I've got frozen today.
Yeah. If you want to just pause for a second, maybe Mike jump out and jump back in. We'll hold that thought there, or something, or we can keep going on. Depends on how Mike's doing in there. Brittany's time stamping that. Yeah. So what kind of NES collection do you got going on?
Not much anymore. Not like yours. Yeah. I got custody of my son. I sold the vast majority of my stuff. I had NES was I was into NES, but I was more into the Sega stuff and ColecoVision and whatnot. But I had about 600 NES games at my high point.
600?
Yeah, my
Oh,
biggest
you've
like,
got me. Yeah, you got me beat. I'm
well,
in
but
like
not
the mid
anymore.
200s. Yeah, right,
Yeah,
correct. I'm in the mid 200s right now, but it's a bad time for collecting NES games. They're either really cheap or really expensive.
yeah. It's that 200 and 400 was. It seems like those were, and that 600. It seems like every 200 was kind of you just kind of like you find Othello at all the yard sales and all the pawn shops. You find the same 20 games
Yes,
over and over
right,
again, and then
correct.
yeah, here in Spokane we had the White Elephant, which was a place that bought like overstock and like losers. So they had a bunch of Sega stuff, and in 2008 they started selling crap off to clear out their storage units, basically, because everybody was tight in their belt. And I had just lost my job as an electrician. I was buying a ton of sealed Sega Genesis and Sega CD and Sega Saturn.
Yeah. Oh man, you must have had a big. Yeah, you must have had some, because all that stuff's worth a lot of so much money now.
Oh yeah, a lot of it breaks my heart as to what I sold a lot of it for, because the Betamax stuff, dude. I bought so many. There was a guy that had a store, and there was a time in Washington or in Spokane, I'm not sure exactly, but where they had to make a decision if like either have the back room or don't have the back room at the VHS stores. And so this guy he went porn, so he had boxes and boxes of stuff that wasn't porn, that was all like late 70s up to like the mid 80s. So like I had the original Beastmaster on Betamax sealed.
Yeah.
And so, but it was only worth like $8 sealed and like $4 open. So I opened it up and watched it. And then I watched that thing sell for like $8,000, 10 years later. And I'm just like, shit. And one week I watched like $40,000 worth of movies that I just like, oh, this one's not worth much. I'll just open it and watch it. And then like 10 years later, it was like when the sealed collectors came into the VHS community, they came in like fucking Miley Cyrus on a wrecking ball, man. They just like boom right into that community and fuck shit up.
I cannot. Well, I might tell my dad about this, because here's the thing. Like my dad like inherited. It was a similar situation. Like there was like one of those old 80s, like where they had video game rentals and movie rentals and a gumball machine where if you got a certain one, you got a free rental. And they had a back room as well. And somehow my dad ended up with a big box of like Betamax movies and like I think I want to say like I'm having like 1987 is fuzzy, okay? Yeah. But like I'm having like a memory of at least a few dozen or more of like all the classics.
Yeah. That's if he's got the ones.
No, he definitely doesn't have them.
Okay, yeah, the ones that are sealed, that are like the original release. That's where like it's easy to find a sealed copy of Goonies on VHS, for example, but it's not easy to find a sealed copy of Goonies from the original run. When they first released Goonies on VHS, everybody that paid $60 a tape was watching it. But you go 10 years by 1991, people were you could get Goonies at McDonald's if you bought 3 Happy Meals in a month or some shit, right? So so there's a huge difference. But yeah, man, I think the last I looked, which has been a hot minute, but the last I looked, the most expensive VHS that had ever sold was a sealed copy of the original run of Goonies, and it was something like $30,000 graded. And it's $30,000. Oh my god!
My brother's big into eBay and whatnot. He actually does literally Whatnot. I didn't mean to do that, but are you familiar with Whatnot? It's like it's an auction app. Okay. Now so he does he collects baseball cards and comic cards, and he comic books, and he sells all his stuff on Whatnot or whatever. Hopefully I don't start a new addiction for you, but it's pretty easy to sell your collections and stuff on there, and it's kind of fun. But my brother's really really into that all that stuff. But so I had this big NES collection when I was a kid, and then we sold it for like things that you could imagine like a 17-year-old would sell their video game collection for, when you're in the 12th grade as a party or something, right? And then I regret it so much. So as like an adult, I start like, rebuilding it slowly. And now I've got two in the 200s, but 600 is pretty good. That's like almost the whole North American release.
I don't remember how many.
I don't know the exact numbers.
I want to say there's close to 8 in North America. It's Sega Genesis and the NES. One is around 8 and one's around 9. I forget. But that's what. It's been a while since I was like really hot into that. Like I've got a ColecoVision with probably 30 games. I've got my Atari with about 30 games. I got my Saturn with 2 games. The only 2 games you need on the Saturn is Panzer Dragoon Zui and fucking it's Die Hard Arcade. That game's so awesome. I don't know if you played that one. It's so fun.
I feel like there's a few games I liked on Saturn. There was one that was I think the first time I played those Lord of the Rings beat 'em ups, the beat 'em up Lord of the Rings was on Saturn, I think. But then they eventually brought it out on the Nintendo GameCube. And I have both of those on the GameCube. Over here, I have an NES, a Super Nintendo, a 64, a GameCube.
Nice.
Over here, I got a couple I got a whole thing. We could probably
talk about.
But the Pacific, welcome back, Mike. The Pacific Northwest is a hot retro gaming community. That's where you live. What is up with that? All the big Pacific Northwest, all the big retro game YouTubers and stuff are from the Pacific Northwest. What's up with that?
I don't know. I mean, we got there's a lot of people that were doing it up here for a while, but I'm not sure exactly. I mean, I know that a lot of us were. I just got into it myself. Like I was. It just kind of like happened where I was doing yard sales and stuff in 2008 after I lost my job as an electrician, and I just kind of gravitated towards it. But I mean, I know that in Spokane specifically that it's been a test market town forever, so that does help a little bit. You get some goofy shit come through your hands, but like I've the Vectrex. It's 1980s. It's a great system. It's
the Vectrex. It's a console.
Yeah, it's a console. XY graphics as opposed to the polygonal graphics that you have with most. Okay, like asteroids, for example.
Yes.
Okay, the Vectrex has its own little monitor, so the system's got its own little monitor, and it's got.
I've seen that.
Yeah, they're pretty expensive now, but they had like a laser light pen and a 3D glasses. And I've seen the box for the 3D glasses and the laser light pen. I've owned 2 of those that I found locally at yard sales. We get a lot of goofy shit. So that might be some of it. Is that and maybe some of it too is that that there's a lot of we have a lot of immigrants from Japan, Korea, and China over here, and not to sound racist, but that's a huge part of especially Korean culture.
For sure, yeah.
Gaming's huge in Korean culture, but in Japanese and Chinese culture too. So that might be some of it as well.
Yeah, I think maybe some of the developers, like the companies, the original OG companies, were probably all out that way too. So it kind of started the culture, kind of like how skateboarding started out in California too.
That's true. I didn't even think of that, but yeah, that is true. That a lot of like Nintendo of America was out of Seattle, and
I wanted to get into ancient history, but do you have a favorite RPG of all time? Before we
when it comes to RPG shit, that's funny because those ones are the kind of games that I played a lot less. That's kind of the beginning of me starting to back away from gaming as though it was crack. Was the Dragon Age games was. I'm spending so much time just doing the same thing over and over and over again. But Final Fantasy 1 on the NES, man, I played the fuck out of that thing when I was younger, man. I played the fuck out of that game. So I'd probably pick that one.
Yeah, for me. It's a 1, 2, and 3. Final Fantasy 1, 2, and 3. The American releases, which are 4 and 6 or whatever. Mike, what do you think? What's your favorite of all time?
Ooh, so I was a bit late to the scene, but I did play the original Final Fantasy on the 2006 Game Boy Advance re-release, which I pretty much caught the fever. I was in 8th grade. I think that was Christmas 8th grade, and I decided, wow, it was the first 2 games on 1 cartridge, and I own so many copies of all those games now, all of them from top to bottom. I spent a few years playing 14 online for a while. Haven't touched that in a long time. Yeah, can't get enough.
I'm scared to play the online stuff, to be honest. I don't trust myself.
Yeah, I ate way back, like I was saying, with being careful with the stuff and realizing that I could rabbit hole way too hard. When EverQuest came out, I was like, went over to a friend's house. He showed me what it was, showed me what he was doing, and I'm like, I am never playing that. I'm never gonna do it. You just showed me crack cocaine. I'm walking the fuck away from this.
No, just say no.
Just say no. I know I'll just sit over in the corner with the light bulb for the next 20 years.
Yeah, and then you realize there's levels to the online play. Like there are people that just put so much time and effort into it, and there's people with like special eye-hand coordination, genetics, and stuff like that, and you just don't stand a chance. And I personally, if I'm gonna play modern games, I play like the storyline. Like I'll play like Call of Duty, the storyline.
Yeah. I haven't played a modern game since I got custody of my kid 10 years ago, and the last games that I played was Stick of Truth and GTA 5. That was.
You got custody of your kids, and you were just like, video games gone.
Well, I didn't have time. I mean, he'd been like he'd been abused a bit, right? And like not a bit. He'd been around the block, and I didn't have. I play like Sega Saturn or ColecoVision, but these are like arcade style games. I sit down and play Burger Time. It's 20 minutes and I'm done. Whereas Stick of Truth, even when you're not playing it, it's still rolling in your head, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the difference with. So I walked away from a lot of that, and that's where honestly when my son started being like, I don't want to be mean, Dad, but why don't you fuck off and give me some space? I started playing Hearthstone. I dabbled with that a little bit, but Hearthstone had this update that fucked up, and like they announced the update one day and they applied one way and they applied it another, and I lost a bunch of points, and so I uninstalled and did the whole rage quit thing, and then I was like, I sat down in front of Netflix and Ancient Apocalypse popped up, and I'm like, well, holy fuck, how did I miss this? And so I rabbit holed a different direction. But yeah, it was video game pissed me off I was sat back down to play games like after like 7.5 years or so of not a complete break, but any of the more in-depth ones I'd walked away from for a while.
So you go from you switch directions and rabbit hole into the ancient history thing, and you're challenging these academics online and that kind of thing, sort of standing up for Graham because he can't really stand up for himself. He's getting it from all different angles and that kind of thing. But like take us from there to like, okay, I'm gonna make a video, to all of a sudden like however it works, you get a text, you get a call, and next thing you know, you're on Joe Rogan. I know that Jimmy hooked it up or whatever, but like that had to been like, which like surreal. We were talking surreal, sitting in Graham's house and like going on Joe Rogan. It's like,
yeah. Well, like, I'm going to feel bad because I'm going to forget the guy's name and I feel like an asshole. But if you've read Heaven's Mirror, there's the part where it talks about Angkor Wat and the Angkor temples being laid out like Draco. Okay, the guy that made that discovery, that discovered that correlation, I forget his name.
I'm gonna find it for you. I know who you're talking about too.
He reached out to me on Instagram a few times, and when I watched the debate, I had been threading the needle between both sides of. I was friends with Flint Dibble. We talked to each other and stuff. We got along well. But
shout out John Grigsby.
yes,
That's
John
the guy.
Grigsby.
Yeah,
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
So I was buddies with guys like Flint Dibble and stuff. Not great friends, but I was friends with a lot of the archaeologists. And I put out a video showing that the letter that the Society for American Archaeology sent to Netflix, the part specifically where they called, they were misrepresenting the past as far as like the history of Atlantis hunting goes, in order to imply that it was racist at its inception. And so, Flint told me basically, no, not basically. He flat out said that it didn't really matter that it wasn't the way that it wasn't Ignatius Donnelly that started. It didn't really matter that it wasn't the way that they portrayed it, because it basically is at the core. It was still the same as far as he was concerned, and I was just like, well, fuck this. That pissed me off immediately. It's like, I thought you guys cared about truth, but in reality, you're more concerned with portraying. You've got a narrative of Atlantis hunting being racist, and even in the face of new evidence, you don't care. You just maintain that same narrative. So then I watched Flint on the debate with Graham Hancock on Joe Rogan, and he's just like fucking lying through his teeth. And the big one was the racist thing. That was the first one where it's like, you're just, I just let me know immediately. It's like, you're knowingly full of shit. And so as I dug through that, I started making videos. I think it was my second video or third video on that was on metallurgy. And John Grigsby reached out to me on Instagram and told me that he was sending it to Graham Hancock. And then a couple of days later, I woke up to a Twitter message from Graham, which that's a surreal moment. That's when you're scrolling down to the bottom expecting to see that I just need $500 for Ancient Apocalypse season 3. Just send me $500, please. .bt at the end. Right. So, but anyway, then Joe started following me. Then when Jimmy went on, Joe, he
shouted you out.
Yeah, well, he asked Joe if I could come on too, so I did, and then Joe had me on again a few weeks later, or a couple months later, and yeah, it's been kind of crazy. I've been on Piers Morgan a couple of times since then too. That was, I got to ask Zahi Hawass a few questions, and that's kind of a huge honor. I don't think there's,
I agree.
That was huge. And Dave and I were immensely entertained to see you and your cohorts on Piers Morgan this past summer. And we were like surprised and pleased that Piers Morgan was kind of trying to find both sides of the aisle on these topics and put together something interesting.
Yeah, no, thanks. I was happy with the way that Piers put it together. But yeah, being able to be one of the people that got to question Zahi Hawass was something that I didn't take that lightly. I didn't. I had so many questions I wanted to ask the guy, and I also felt like I needed to make sure that we didn't, between me and Jimmy, that we didn't make him get up out of the chair and walk away. Zahi's known to do this. It's not like it would be his first time. But that was, which sucked having to think about that as well. I talk about psychology all the time, and one of the reasons is because it's so goddamn frustrating. It's like I want to just talk about the facts at hand, but I can't just talk about the facts at hand. I've got to worry about how this comes across to other people. And anyway, good times.
That's showbiz, though. You're on a big stage. You get to think about those things, right?
Shuck and jive, baby.
Yeah, that Piers Morgan thing was wild, and that whole Zahi Hawass thing was wild. But I think that needed to happen. I'm not one of these people that like hates archaeologists or is mad at the establishment all the time or anything. I think the whole thing's kind of important. I think Zahi, I have a lot of respect for him and the work and stuff he's done there and stuff. I'm not mad at him, but everyone needed to see like who the guy was that was like been calling the shots for the last 30 plus years, maybe more, 40. And that was very important. I think it was a really important moment in history.
Yeah, I have to agree with you that his appearance on Joe Rogan was actually probably one of the most important Joe Rogan episodes ever as far as Atlantis goes and stuff. Because that was like, I mean, there's not give him enough rope and just let him run amok with it. Because my God, he didn't just come across as ignorant. He came across as egotistical and like, insufferable. I guess would be the best way to put it. He's the kind of guy you wouldn't want to have at a Thanksgiving. Oh, fucking Christ. Really? That guy again?
Just to be nice, what percentage of that tension and all that stuff do you think was like cultural and generational? Just to be nice, like 20, 30?
Maybe 20 or 30%. It's tough to say. It's I don't know their culture very well.
Sure,
so
me neither.
It's tough for me to say how much of it's cultural, how much of it's generational, how much of it is he feels like, that he is a step above all that. Like, there's some people that think that, some people that think that certain accolades and they become this, that, and the other thing. And, he's definitely been told he was king shit at Turd Island as far as Egypt goes for a while.
King shit of Turd Island.
Sorry, that's an old chestnut.
That's a good one. I think I'm gonna steal that.
Oh yeah, you can definitely. It's the people's meme. It is the people's meme.
Yeah, I've shown it a few times on the show, just when I'm trying to drive some points home about how kind of this whole thing has been moving forward from my perception. But you've seen Quest for the Lost Civilization with Graham Hancock, obviously, and there's this famous scene in there where Zahi walks Graham up to the top of the Sphinx just to tell him, Rashok is full of it, and geologies are full of it, and we're the only ones here who know. And to see that happen, I don't know, way less than 720p or whatever. I don't know what the resolutions are, but it was like 1998 or something, yeah. And it's like a CRT TV or something. And then to see it took almost a full generation or two to then now happen again in full circle when the world is watching and everyone has access to all the information.
Yeah. It's like it's funny how these things come back around, and the human brain's weird that way. It's just like we come back and retread the same stuff, and what's old becomes new again in this way. Like the pyramids are something that it's almost like clockwork, the way the human psyche just kind of we trip out on them every 30 years or so, 25 years. They become popular, very popular. All the way back, 100 years ago, they were like,
it became a big deal.
It's a huge deal.
It's fashionable.
And if you go back all the way, it's just funny. I'll guarantee you that those archaeologists and debunker types are thinking about this, but they played their cards all fucked up because they're bad at PR. But if you think of all the different names of all the different people from back in those days, what they're attached to all of the spiritualism and all that kind of stuff, the guy that comes to the top of the pile is Houdini, and he was the debunker. So it wasn't, you got your Madame Blavatsky's and your fucking Aleister Crowley's and your Edgar Casey's, and they're all popular, but none of them are as popular as Houdini. Houdini is something that almost everybody knows who he is.
Almost everyone.
I bet you the debunkers, like I said, the debunkers have that in mind to a degree. But future, like Houdini was a showman. He was good with people. He was good with psychology. And these guys, and I talk about this quite a bit, but these guys being, scientists used to get vetted pretty heavily before they were given a platform. And these guys now, it's the same as the rest of us. They just get on there and yell at their phone, and here they are.
Yeah, they also have to go through an indoctrination process to get their degree. So, depending, and then the level of indoctrination highly depends on the years you went to school and the state you were in and different things like that. But the
culture and the state at that time, because that can change rapidly. We've watched that change in states in the last 10 years, really.
Yeah, but there's normal ones out there, right? there's a bunch of normal, like really cool archaeologists that are really excited about data and want to answer simple questions. Don't try to answer all the big ones and claim they own it.
Yeah. By the time this video, by the time our chat goes live, my video will already be out. But there's a YouTuber, Madam Archaeologist, and she is an archaeology student. I think she's a graduate student, but she's anonymous for obvious reasons. But she's collaborating with me a little bit on this. She's already sent me the clip that I'm going to use in my video for weighing in about talking about the statue that they found in the wall at Göbekli Tepe, the statue at the bottom of the wall.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, archaeologists the problem isn't archaeologists. The problem is a handful of people that are cynics instead of skeptics. I don't have a problem at all with you coming in and saying, man, this is wrong. I don't have a problem at all with you if you have reasons and you're not a cocksucker about it. But if you're just going to come in and like Flint with the vases where he just laughs, he's like, oh, you just do this. It's like, dude, when you get condescending and you just like, it's like you're now not only are you wrong, you're not even sciencing right. You look like an asshole, and then you turn people off to science. And that's his whole claim to fame. And it's honestly hilarious. It's like his whole shtick is he managed to beat Graham Hancock in a debate on Joe Rogan. The motherfucker still ain't got 100,000 subscribers. People don't like him. Even his own colleagues don't like him.
Well, and I'm glad you mentioned the vases because I started following Flint Dibble after the Rogan episode, after the debate, because my YouTube is filled with differing opinions. I've got both sides on a lot of different topics, and I want to see both of those in my feed each day. So I was sub to Flint Dibble, and I was listening to what he had to say. Okay, he knows a lot about Greek classics. He knows a lot about that particular era and what agriculture. But when he was on the Danny Jones show, and it got to about the 1 hour mark, and he started talking about the vases authoritatively, and I could tell this guy doesn't know how anything is manufactured ever. He doesn't know how the cans in his refrigerator got made. And so I couldn't keep up after that. If you're going to step that far out of bound, that far out of lane, and try to be authoritative, I can't respect that.
Yeah, you're dead on, Mike. I mean, it's a hard thing for somebody who's being egotistical or who's trying to debunk to say, but it's a very scientific position to take. If you don't have enough data, you just don't fucking know, man. You don't have to pretend you do. You don't have to say, oh well. I mean, if you say, hey Dan, how do you hotwire a 1957 Chevy? If I start, well, you take the fuck them off, man. Just tell me you don't fucking know. It's fine. It's cool. Just tell me you don't know. It's fine. But these guys can't do it. They get their egos involved, and also when you're selling the idea of, I'm an atheist, but I recognize that there's a large number of people that are atheists that treat science like a religion. They're not necessarily atheists, but a lot of people that treat science like a religion or scientists like religious leaders. Yes. And specifically in the regards that they're looking for truth. They're looking for an easy way to know. They don't want to talk to God themselves. Give me a priest to do it. And by extension, those priests can do no wrong. And in the Catholic Church, well, we all know what happens there. And then with the scientific community, we get similar kind of fuckery. They fuck us all over and screw us and then lie to us, and we get the short end of the stick.
And it still provides what those people need because that's what they left behind. There's charlatans and frauds in the religious side, just like you've got Neil deGrasse Tyson, the priest. He stands in front of the room on behalf of the institution to tell you what you should think because the institution already figured it out. And those people lap it up because they constructed from the wrong institution. And now they found the right institution. It's called science. It's like, no. You've got to catch the pattern recognition here.
No, Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Dave.
No, you go for it.
Oh, no, you go ahead. You were drawing in your breath. Go for it.
I was just saying that so institutional thinking's the problem then, really. And is that like a human nature? I don't know.
No, yes, absolutely. It's tribalism, and it absolutely is human nature. It's so much human nature that when I talk about like racism and sexism and homophobia or whatever else you want to talk about, you can't just say I'm done. You know, I think I'm done being racist. I recognize that black people had it rough when they were slaves, and they've had it rough since then. And institutional. That's not how that works. You don't psychologically, on a fundamental level, your brain is wired to other things that are different than you. When you look at somebody that you recognize as being different than you, your mind inherently is going to think differently about them. In a lot of ways, it's going to be lesser, because this is how you protect you and your own. And you can look at the tribes down in Africa and stuff today that they tattoo themselves so that the guy across the river can't infiltrate their tribe. Genetically they're identical, but it's still racism. The thing is if you're trying to combat that, you have to recognize that your mind's always going there. You're always othering other people. You're always trying to do that. So check your feelings, like constantly reevaluate yourself. Like it's kind of funny when they talk about like being in touch with your emotions. That doesn't mean sitting around crying and talking about it. To me, it means knowing why you feel a certain way or what triggers can make you. Because it ain't, you can't change how you feel, but you can change how you react.
Yeah. I'm not going on this topic today, but the recent thing that everyone was talking about the last couple of weeks, I was actually pretty proud of myself because I did that, Dan. I purposely was like, paid attention to how I was being herded to feel about it. And then I backed away. I just backed away. It gave me enough space from it to like, I didn't go on X for 2 weeks after that. And, I felt a lot better about it. I'm glad we're talking about this because one interesting thing happened. So at Cosmic Summit, that picture that we mentioned at the beginning of our talk, I posted that like, I don't know, right afterwards. At Dan Richards, Cosmic Summit, right? And then like, I don't know, 9 hours later, whenever, because you're busy, I look at my phone and I look at X, and like people were going at you on the picture that I that I posted and tagged you in, and they were making fun of me. Like they called us, I forget, it was like, I don't know, it was like something comparing us to like people going to Disney or something. I can't remember, but I'm sensitive, Dan, and like I was like, so I don't like getting in these arguments on X, but I remember thinking that's like a little taste of like what you and Jimmy kind of deal with and have to deal with. And I always wanted to ask you, because it takes a lot of energy, emotional energy, doesn't it? Do you do anything to like protect yourself from like that emotional energy? Like Joe Rogan would tell you to post and ghost. I think he did. Didn't he? Didn't he tell you that live?
No, he didn't tell me that, but I think he told Jimmy that before.
Yeah.
But or something along those lines. But he hasn't told me that. But yeah, it's I don't think he told me that. But
no, I don't think so either. But it was Jimmy. It was Jimmy. He told Jimmy that.
I think so. But I mentioned bulletin board services earlier. I mean, I've been doing this kind of stuff for a ridiculously long time, as far as like commenting online and whatnot. And I don't. You're gonna have a hard time getting to me with some stupid ass comment. And so a lot of times people on Twitter, they say something and I just laugh. It's like, oh, okay, I'm gonna or it is an excuse for me to go yell at somebody or talk shit. So it doesn't really bug me very much. A lot of people it does. Like Graham doesn't like it. Mike Collins doesn't.
Michael doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah. But I just kind of like, I'm like, oh man, I'm serious. Like they say something rotten to me, I just say something rotten back. It's we could talk about big rock. And I always go there. So we could be talking about big rocks right now. We're both interested in our history. We're both interested in where we come from. But you wanted to call me a grifter, so I'm just gonna remind you that I could be your father, and except for we know where you came from, and it wasn't me clearly. But you say all kinds of stuff, and sometimes it's just fun just to try to get around the filters, right? Like saying things like "lickus my proboscis" instead of "suck my cock" because the filters won't catch that one, but everybody knows what it means. And then people smile. You tell somebody "suck my cock," they're just like, "Oh, droll." But so yeah, it's fun to me, and honestly, like when I see, it's almost like even better because you see like guys like Flint get live and they all scream at the camera and they get all red faced. It's like, fuck, man. When I was 15, I remember imagining the guy that I was talking shit to doing that. So I'm that motherfucker's just like screaming red faced right now. And so then like at 50, I'm like, hey, look, he is. There he is. Still screaming, still red faced. Little Energizer bunny in my head, still going.
That's funny.
But yeah, it is what it is. These guys are, a lot of these guys are honestly, I don't even know how else to put it except for they're just jokers. They're so out of touch with, like you'd almost, they're the kind of people you wouldn't even get shoved in a locker at school. They're the kind of people that other guys would be like, man, you can't shove that guy in a locker. Come on, man, he's too slow. Fucking stop. Be nice to him. Help him carry his milk box to the fucking yard. But yeah.
I think that's what it is. That's what creates that like identity, like you clinging to the feeling of having a position of authority, and this is my identity. That's where that comes from, is weakness, right?
Well, yeah, and you would think, if they're like so egotistical that they would stay to their stuff, like the best way to, if you're going to be entering into the debate community, the best way to be unassailable is to stay in your lane and choose hills that you can always die on, right? I can die on this hill. I'm happy to do so. So Flint, for example, could stick with seeds and food and stuff like that, and he would know what the fuck he was talking about always. But instead, he veers off, and then he opens himself to being wrong, and then he has to double down because he can't be wrong to a bunch of dumbass stoners like us. That's unacceptable. Those guys are playing fucking video games while I was studying. Exactly.
Yeah, sometimes I like have this thought that that maybe there's a small percentage chance that like he's like literally an industry plant or something, like a disinformation agent of sorts, like because he honestly looks like, and I don't mean this like people will go, oh, Dave said he was making fun of that he has cancer. That's not what I'm doing. He honestly looks comical in his presentation of himself, and there's nothing. I'm not trying to be mean when I say that. Like that's not like, and I'm not a mean person, Dan. Like that's the nicest way I could have possibly said that.
All right. It's a great
character. Too bad it has to be a villain.
Yeah, it's a costume. Mike nailed it. It's a great character. It's a costume. He's I mean, fuck, it's a costume and a half. If I don't even know how else to put it. When the hat where he had to wear, like he couldn't turn his neck to he was good. That right there is too fucking much, man. That's 3 hours of my neck hurting because I'm laughing so hard watching this. It's like, God damn it, dude. Oh fuck, what are you doing to his foot?
Yeah, it's like he read a book that was like how to make my hands look smaller in this suit. I don't understand. Like I know I might cut that. I literally might cut that.
We hope that Flint's having a good evening wherever he's at. I hope he's at home having a nice, safe evening, just having a good time at home right now. That's all.
Again, one thing you learn about Mike and Dave's Multiverse, Dan, is we don't try to get like right in the middle of things. We want to hear people, like every different person's opinion, and we don't like to argue too much. But he makes himself an easy target, and it honestly gives me a little compassion for him. Like I felt like bad for him, like how he handled himself after the whole thing, especially him and that other guy were drinking and streaming live and looking just ridiculous. And I was like, I honestly felt bad for him.
Yeah, I was bummed with when him and Milo Rossi, Mini Minuteman, when they were drinking together.
Yes, that's the one I'm talking about. Yeah,
dude, that bummed me out so bad because like we had just been on, me and him and all of us and Jimmy Corsetti had been on Pierce Morgan.
Yes,
and me and Jimmy, like, it went well to the point where me and Jim were on the phone with each other afterwards going, dude, that went really good. How do you think we can olive branch to be like where we can like stop the fighting between all of us here? Because, and then it's like 3 hours later, I'm like, here, Jim, watch the first 10 minutes of this and see what do you think. And he's like, oh, fuck, all right. No olive branch.
Disappointing.
Yeah, it's frustrating, but you know, I watched if you watch Milo's Mini Minute Man's Ancient Apocalypse series,
I did.
at the end of it, he talks about how he doesn't want to do debunking. He wants to be an educator. He wants to talk about sites, not people, and blah blah blah. And then he does that for like 6 months, and his view count goes way down because his followers are not following him to watch him talk about Göbekli Tepe and Kayran Tepe. His followers are following him to watch him eviscerate pseudoscientists. So eventually he had to go back to where the side of the bread the butter's on, and that's, you know, it's frustrating, but it is what it is. There's certain people in this community. David Miano's one, the World of Antiquity channel, that's kind of stuck, this kind of pigeonholed himself where he needs to debunk. I'm in the other boat when I do. If I address somebody's arguments, I know I'm going to get like piss poor views, but every now and again, people need to be told to stay in their fucking lane. So I'm like, fuck it. I'll work for pennies this week.
Yeah, Milo's a weird one because, like, when I'm one of the biggest Graham Hancock homers you can meet, right? And so, I watched his series with, like, I watched Milo's series with good intentions. Like, I wanted to watch a honest debunking take. That's why I watched it, and that's the first time I ever even heard of the dude. And then, like, down the line, I think it was you, or it was either you or Jimmy, but I find out the guy isn't even an archaeologist. Like, right? Is that true? I looked it up myself once. I can't remember what the exact credentials are, but he's not an archaeologist, but he masquerades as one.
He's got some classes in it. Yeah.
I got some classes in archaeology. I'm not an archaeologist. I'm not trying to start. I have no problem with him. I actually liked his videos on Kayran Tepe. I thought they were pretty well done. But, like, you know,
it's funny how they do. It really is hilarious when the literal definition of pseudoscientist is somebody pretending to be a scientist that's not, and then that's exactly what these guys do. They do this shit a lot. They actually, like, they lack self-awareness to the nth degree. And Milo Rossi, out of all of them, he's got to be the most self-aware by a country mile. Most of these guys are socially awkward compared to him. He at least has an idea of what's going on. But yeah, it's pretty hilarious the way that they've got it. They basically have got us all pigeonholed as pseudoscientists and nut jobs and bullshit artists, and they're the ones that are professors when they're not professors. They're archaeologists when they're not archaeologists. They redefine what pseudoscientist means. Even if you go look at watch David Miano talking about Milo Rossi being called a pseudoscientist, a pseudo-archaeologist, and he changes his definition from what he says in his own video. It's just, these guys do this shit all the time. They rewrite history in the debates about where a lot of people are flat out accusing them of rewriting history. A lot of people are like, you guys rewrite history. Oh, no, we don't. And then they rewrite history. Like, we didn't do that 3 weeks ago. It's like, fuck, I was right there watching you. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I think they were right. I don't want to get into that topic. We don't do it on the show, but I think they're rewriting history right now, quite literally.
Oh, yeah. They wrote many scripts in decades past, and we get to see which script that they're executing today.
Exactly, something like that. Yeah. I watched your video with Michael Donnellan. He came on our show too. He's a super fun guy to talk to. We really enjoyed him. It seemed like you guys had a great conversation. Where are you at with their evidence, that team's evidence?
It's interesting. Did you see the
The doc.
Atlantica, the documentary.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, that's there's some pretty interesting stuff there by the end of it, right?
Mhm.
I am still of the opinion that I don't think that Atlantis is. I think there was a lot of different civilizations then that would qualify for quote unquote advanced by the peoples that survived the flood. So I think that, like, you know, where he's kind of like piecing the roadmap to get to find the spot, a lot like Jimmy Corsetti does with the rise shot structure.
Mhm.
And these, I think these are like these are, you know, good pursuits. It's they're definitely not a waste of time. If nothing else, just to eliminate stuff. But I'm more of the opinion that that stuff is kind of. I'm not. I think his evidence is good. I don't think that that's going to be. For one, it won't put the people that are skeptical of Atlantis. It won't it won't help them out at all. They're still going to be skeptical. And for two, I think that it's not the only place to look. I don't even think it's going to be the best place to look for a lost advanced civilization. But I do think it's very interesting. I do think he found some cool stuff there. To be honest, the end of that documentary was pretty good.
Yes. The ending scene is very promising, and I can't wait to see those future episodes where they fill that semicircle out even more.
Yes.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a series. Like, we got a pared down, like, 1 hour version of 3 episodes, from what I understand. So we'll get to see the rest of it. And Mike and I talk about this a lot because Atlantis comes up on the show a lot. But Mike and I are both sort of in agreement. It sounds like you are too. That Atlantis is like, could possibly be several places, right? Like,
Sure.
So when you're talking about, it could be Cadiz, and, you know, so I remember at Cosmic Summit, well, I don't know if you watched the debate they had, but you were going hard the night before. But
I was on the debate.
You were, yeah, that's right. You were on the debate, yeah. And I remember watching it and just thinking to myself, you know, like, all these places could, you know, you could fit, you know, you could, all these places, and a true global civilization they'd have connections all over the Earth, right? So would Atlantis, or whatever Atlantis is, Atlantis meaning lost ancient civilization with technology that we don't understand.
Sure. The way I looked at it, I said it in the debate that I think that it was going to be all over the world. Like look at the Clovis culture, for example. We call the Clovis culture everybody who uses the same tool set. So they use Clovis points. And it's like we find the Clovis points and stuff in New Mexico or in Illinois or in Michigan or in New York or in Washington, and we call them the Clovis culture. But do you think they spoke the same language or worshiped the same God? They just had the same toolkit. That's it. They had the same tool. So if you extrapolate from that thinking and then, like, go 10,000 years from now, if we all got wiped out today, we'd be the electronics culture. Right. And they'd even put us in the same category with the fucking culture. And they'd be like, oh yeah, the North Koreans, Chinese, and the French, and the Americans, and the Australians, they're all the same. They're fucking electronics culture.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I mean, you know, at the point where I have demonstrated that we would get conflated with the French, I think you can understand that we would, you know, Atlantis would be all over the place, man. Come on. I personally think that it would be. And in addition to that, I think that, like, the two main things that we hear about all the time are, like, the two main stories about it are like Noah's Ark or the Critias and Timaeus. But with Noah's Ark, you also get the Assyrian version, the Babylonian version, and all that stuff, right? But these are all through a cultural lens, like. The Greek one, the Greek Atlantis, they use the same orichalcum, they use the same fancy metal in their temple walls. They're democratic, they're warlike, they're very good, they're very martial, they're very good. They organize their society well, they're honored, they represent Greek values. Then you look at the biblical version. and it's all about monotheism and about don't fuck with God. You disobeyed God, and now you're going to get smoked. And it's a cultural lens, I think, that has a lot to do with it. So I think the same story in just a few generations, can get. Well, we know with from the cargo cults. You guys are aware,
right?
Yeah, we know how fast a story can just get twisted on its ear, right?
Yep.
Sure, that happens in like small samples and large samples, and over short periods of time and long periods of time. I might have to cut this out, but there's a. Do you remember in the 90s, in the 80s, 90s, everyone thought that Marilyn Manson had cut out some of his ribs to suck his own dick, but that was never true.
Mm-hmm.
Our generation made that go viral across the world with no internet. Like somehow all the 12 to 25-year-olds in the 90s knew that, and it wasn't even true.
Yeah, it wasn't even true. Richard Gere and the Gerbil, same thing.
Yes, exactly.
But yeah, it's fucking crazy how that works. But
yeah. Just from your estimation, Dan, heritage tourism, like how much of an issue is this? Like, what Michael Collins talking about here, all these sites. I know he's been to 300 billion sites, but I mean, do you see this as a huge issue? And if not, what's the biggest issue we're facing in archaeology today?
Well, heritage tourism is definitely a big issue. Especially in areas where money's tight, that's really where we're gonna have a problem, because they give zero fucks given about their past when they're looking at their future. Like they're trying to feed their kids, they do not care if that's if this is laid out the way that it was 5,000 years ago. They just care if it brings in more honkies with their monies. That's really all they give a fuck about at that point, right? So that's one of the problems. But honestly, I think as far as archaeology goes right now, as far as as an art, to hell with the Atlantis hunters, just from archaeology's perspective, but from the outsider's view looking at it, if they're in a bit of a crisis mode because they have let these debunker types run with it so long and so hard and so publicly, like Flint going on Joe Rogan and being like millions of people, 20+ million people seeing this shit, right? This is bad. Okay. This the face of archaeology is not Lee Berger, who it should be. It's with the Cave of Bones guy. It's fucking Flint Dibble, who it shouldn't be. And he's vitriolic and he's, I get called names for being mean and stuff too, but I'm doing it like quite often. I'm laughing about it in tongue in cheek. I'm not angry about it. I'm not taking this personal. Like a lot of these guys, it's like they're like seriously like it's some fucking holy war. I really don't understand. Like seriously, like is archaeology like this like pure fucking shining thing that you got to defend? Is like white people blood, you got to keep it all perfectly pure and stuff. You weird fucking KKK motherfuckers. It's just weird to me, man. Their thinking is, I don't understand how they get where they're at with some of this stuff. But so honestly, I think that's probably like these guys alienating the debunker types, being allowed to run amok, and them alienating the interested amateur and thereby alienating our money. That's fucking them right now pretty hard.
Yeah. And no one's going to want one of those degrees. Go ahead, Mike.
I was just going to say it's ironic because they try to conflate that field of study with the entire academic establishment and all of science. And we're here fighting for all that is science because people disagree about a very tiny amount of evidence we have about the remote past. It's like people are going to disagree. It's a tiny amount of evidence we have. It's the remote past.
Yeah, and them calling the softer a science, the harder these guys LARP. Like I said, it's just fucking hilarious to me. It's like, so you got stratigraphy, and you're like, okay, well, we can say generally speaking that this thing probably went like that. I mean, people, when you start including human agency, it's not like stratigraphy is geology. Stratigraphy with geology is basically a law, right? Shit's laid down. But I can go to a wall and dig at a 45 underneath it, and I can go to a 500-year-old wall and go put a fucking Nintendo cartridge underneath the goddamn thing and fuck with archaeologists in the future, right? I can blast. It's not stratigraphy is not a law in archaeology. Again, you're including human agency. So it's they call, when they treat it like it's a science, like fucking like electromagnetic theory is a science. They're
Right.
it's a joke. It's a fucking joke.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What do you think of the old we work from the known to the unknown as their like fall back on everything? Like it doesn't even seem like they really do that.
No, they don't. They do in certain situations.
Some do.
Yes, but generally speaking, it really comes down to what's accepted and what's not. You know, there's only like a half a dozen. I want to say maybe 12. The manuscripts that actually like reference Alexander the Great from his time. You know, there's only a few letters that they reference the sea peoples from their time. There's these things. There's not a lot of robust evidence for a lot of these people, a lot of these happenings. But if it's accepted, then all of a sudden it's like, okay, they accept the sea people existed. So therefore, we got a framework that includes the sea people. So now we have to look and see which tribes would qualify to be the sea people. So, okay, we have the Paliset. The Paliset probably were the Palestinians, and they probably were one of the tribes of the sea peoples. So we think we've got one. But, and that's hilarious because you'll see, I watched David Miano actually made a video pointing this out when he is talking about educating his followers just about the sea peoples. We don't know for sure, probably, maybe, but when he's debunking and when I make this exact argument, then he's like, no, we know for sure the Paliset are the sea peoples. It's like, I've got your own words with you saying they might be, but these guys, two separate standards of evidence, two different ways of thinking. One is scientific, one is win argument at all costs. They conflate the two and say, look, I'm arguing for science. And it's like, no, you're arguing like a debate team kid. You're not fucking.
That's my take on Miano, is that he does both. He does it for sport sometimes, and also because, and you mentioned this earlier about other people, but somebody else, I think it was Milo, but his engagement does better when he calls you out or he calls Randall or whatever, and then then his cronies jump in, and then his engagement goes way up.
Oh yeah, his is definitely that way. The worst of that bunch is Professor Dave's. You know, if he uploads a video that's like about science, he's like, oh, here's some chemistry. It'll get like 10,000 views, and he's got like 4 million subscribers. Then he uploads a video that's like, this guy's retarded, and he's 50 million views, 400,000 views.
Even he, has a baseline credential to be very baseline credential to be like an authority on everything. And that's kind of like, as we wrap this up, what I like about your channel, you do the debunking because it's because you do it because you can, right? And it's like these they set themselves up for it, and you when you looked, you that's what you said at the beginning. You were like, I looked, and everything he said was, a lot of what he said was full of it. So somebody's got to do it. I don't take it personally, so let me give this a crack. And then a few years later, you're on Rogan, you're interviewing Graham Hancock, you're at Cosmic Summit, getting treated like a middle of the road rock star.
Yeah, like the bass player for Rat.
Yeah. That's crazy though. What does your son say about all that? Like telling you to start a YouTube channel or whatever?
Man, we've had he doesn't like it when I get recognized in public because that's kind of embarrassing. But he tells me, I like to fuck with him. Like he'll tell me, Dad, you yabber too much, and I'll say, look, man, I'm a professional yabber. You don't have to listen to any ads to get me yabbering. You just go straight to the yabbering. You're lucky. Another one, he tells me I'm too old to be a YouTuber, but I tell him that's one of my favorites because I just say, no, I'm the perfect age actually, because everybody on YouTube, when they get popular, inevitably they fuck somebody that's half their age. When I do it, I won't go to jail. It's going to be perfectly legal still. So this is good. I'm the right age, man. If I was 30 now, we'd have a problem. But we have a lot of fun. But yeah, he likes the increased freedom and the more financial freedom. But he could give two shits about pyramids and about all that stuff. Yeah.
What's he into?
He likes wrestling and he likes video games and stuff. He likes wrestling, baseball, video games,
teenage boy stuff. Yeah.
Meme culture. Yeah.
Just don't start a meme coin, okay?
Oh God, no! I already did. Me and that Hawk Tua girl got together. I got this Logan Paul guy. I was making some of this drink and this lunchly thing. I was gonna kick off, and then meme coin that.
And what's the name? Is it DUNK? Dunk coin?
Yeah, dunk coin. That's right. They call it the double D coin.
The double D coin. That's it. Hey, man, that's a good place to end it. Thank you so much for joining the Multiverse. We really appreciate it. It's nice meeting you in person, and we're looking forward to meeting you again in Arizona, in Scottsdale. Hey, Mike?
Yeah. Just a couple, like 6 weeks or so, something like that, isn't it? Something like that.
8
weeks.
I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Mike. I really appreciate you guys.
Thanks so much. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.